Episode number 54. Hi, you're listening to the Careers Beyond Motherhood podcast with your host, Janine Esbrand. I'm here to help working mums like you to thrive in your careers and in motherhood. I share tips, strategies, and inspirational conversations with awesome women to help reduce the struggle in your juggle.
Time for a say, Mummy.
This episode is brought to you by The Collective, which is our monthly membership community for ambitious women who want to continue to build their careers whilst raising a family. Now, once you've had a baby, things might change for you. Once you become a mum, you might be thinking differently about your career, and negotiating what you want can be tough. So within this community, we help you to figure out where you want to go with your career and how you could get there. So whether you are switching direction, whether you want to build on what you've already developed in your career thus far, whether you want to launch your own business, we are there to support you step by step, providing the tools, the guidance, the coaching, and the community that you need to move boldly towards the career that you want. So if you're interested in joining an awesome group of women as you navigate the highs and lows of your career beyond motherhood, then head over to lightboxcoaching.com/collective-waitlist and get your name on the list so that I can let you know when the doors will be opening again. We would love to have you join us. And in this episode, you're going to hear so much about the power of community and how important it is to be able to connect with like-minded people who are going through similar challenges and stages in life as you. Hello. It is awesome to be back with you again. I have been missing for the past few weeks, and so it's great to be back behind this microphone and speaking to you about the power of community. I am going to be diving into what it means to be part of a mastermind. I'm going to share with you a bit about my experience of being in a mastermind, and then I'm going to share with you some key takeaways that came up when I went on a trip to Miami this past weekend, where I met with my mastermind buddies in person. So let me go back and give you the backstory. So I have been building my coaching business for the past few years. I am a lawyer, qualified over 6 years ago, and I decided to train as a coach alongside my legal career because I wanted to help people on more of a personal level. I was working in corporate law, which is very much about, building people's businesses and helping them make money. And that's all great, but I wanted to help people on more of a personal level after going on an amazing mission trip to Africa. And that's another story, and you can check that out in a previous episode. I shared all about my trip that changed everything. And I share all about that in episode 47 of the podcast. So you can head back to that episode and check that out if you'd like. So long story short, I trained as a coach and have been building my coaching practice alongside my legal career. Now, when you are practicing as a lawyer, your approach to building your practice is very different, especially if you're working in private practice as a junior lawyer or working in-house. You don't necessarily have to think so much about building the business side of things. And so when I started building my coaching practice, I realized that there were some gaps in my business knowledge that I needed to fill. And so I sought out support, and I've worked with coaches in the past. And then in 2018, I decided to join this mastermind. Now, this mastermind is filled with amazing women that have so much experience in different industries. They have different backgrounds. So we have women in the group who are marketing experts, who are systems experts, who have backgrounds in the Navy, who have written books, who are bookkeepers and accountants. We have women from all walks of life in this mastermind, and so such a wealth of experience. And in the past few months, we've been meeting on a monthly basis and sharing with one another online through online conferencing. And this month, we had the opportunity to travel to Miami and stay together in a house for the weekend and mastermind in person. And when I tell you, it was so amazing, so different from doing it online, and just so valuable. I learned so much. I took away so much. We laughed together, we cried together, we encouraged one another. It was just such an amazing experience. But if you are unfamiliar with what a mastermind actually is, I just want to share with you a bit about the concept and why it works so well. So The name mastermind and the concept was really solidified and shared by Napoleon Hill. He is the author of Think and Grow Rich, and he gave the name mastermind to this concept. So it's probably something that people were doing way before he coined the phrase mastermind, but this is what we have come to know it as. And he describes it as two or more people who work in perfect harmony for the attainment of a definite purpose. So the idea is that you have a group of people, small or large, who are working together for the same goal. And in that process, they encourage one another and share their wealth of their influence, experience, knowledge, brain capital, so that every person within the mastermind can benefit and are able to reach their destination far quicker than if they were trying to go it alone. And the reason why it is so powerful is that not only are you able to draw on the experience and knowledge of other people to help you to move forward, but in the process, you develop such close bonds with those people and a level of community that you may not have found elsewhere. So if your common goal is building a business, or if your common goal is to reach a certain level in your career as a lawyer or an accountant, or if your common goal is to raise your children in a certain way, having other people who are like-minded and are thinking in the same way as you and have a common goal to you is truly, truly valuable. I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where you really wanted to do something, or you made a decision and everyone around you was telling you that you were wrong, or giving you the impression that you were a little bit crazy for making that decision or taking that step. And when you have that feedback, it causes you to doubt yourself. It causes you to double guess. It causes you to perhaps put down the thing that you wanted to do, or put it on the back burner, or not pursue it. But the flip side of that is, if you have people who are encouraging you, who have done the thing that you want to do, who are in the process of doing it as well, you are going to feel energized. You are going to feel like you can do it. You're going to feel like the sky is the limit. And that is the beauty of a mastermind. So we, over the weekend, were able to each get up and share our backstories and share what we wanted for our businesses, and then share what some of our struggles were. And then you had a group of women just chiming in and giving their best advice. And that advice came from, their wealth of knowledge and their background and their experience. So what you found was there were different people sometimes saying different things, or there were people saying the same thing, giving the same advice, but with a slightly different slant and a slightly different way of explaining it. And sometimes you can hear the same thing over and over again, and it just takes one person to explain it in that slightly different way for the click to go off, or for the penny to drop, or however you want to describe it. And I saw that happen for so many people within this mastermind. There were 12 of us that met in person, and I have to say it was absolutely incredible. And so I want to share with you some of the takeaways, because I think that these takeaways are going to be relevant for you, whether you're in a mastermind or not, whether you have a community or not. I think that you can apply these takeaways to your day-to-day life as a working parent, and that they are going to be useful for you. So the first one is, getting outside perspective can be a complete game changer. So when you are struggling with a problem, and when you are trying to figure out what's next or how to go about something, when you're in your head and you are going over and over the same thing, the likelihood is you're going to keep humming to the same answer, or coming to the same result, or getting frustrated and just parking the thought and not really processing it any further. But when you get an outside perspective, and even the very act of you explaining yourself and explaining it to someone else, and hearing yourself speak and hearing yourself verbalize what has been going around in your head, can be so helpful. I found myself, and I've seen other people do it, where they're describing their issue, and as they're describing it, they're actually realizing that they can solve it, or that the solution seems actually quite simple, whereas when it was in their head, it seemed like a huge problem. Or when they are describing their situation to someone, and then that person is able to ask them a clarifying question, and that question in and of itself was enough to help them to find clarity. So I just think it's so important for you to find that outside perspective when you're going through a challenge. So that could look like a friend, that could look like a colleague, or if you're looking for impartial perspective, or someone who's not gonna, they're not gonna add in their judgment or their expectations, then you might want to seek out working with a coach or someone else who is going to be able to provide you with that feedback. But having outside perspective is so important and can really quicken things up. It can really help you to get to where you want to go quicker. It can help you to realize that you're wasting valuable time trying to figure out an issue that maybe isn't something you need to worry about right now. So definitely get an outside perspective. Number one, very important. The second one was how different it felt to be in person with this group of women than, the interactions that we had online. And don't get me wrong, the interactions that we've had online have been so useful, and it's been great to get to know those ladies over the last 4 months. But the difference when you're in person, so over the last 4 months I got to know them, but in the space of 2 to 3 days, I got to really know them and got to feel really connected to them. And I want us to think about where we are relying too heavily on technology. Technology is great. Technology has changed the way that we do life, but sometimes technology is not doing us good. It's not serving us. We are, as humans, we are built for connection. We are designed to be connected to people. And so when we try and replace that connection with technology, we are doing ourselves a disservice. So it's great to automate things, but let's not try and automate relationships too much. Let's, instead of sending that text message or that WhatsApp message, let's pick up the phone and speak to someone instead of being overly precious about our schedules and our calendars. Let's just pop in and say hi to a neighbor or someone on our street. Let's move away from, always being behind a screen to actually spending quality time with people in person, because what happens when you are spending time with people in person just is incredible. And I think we've moved too far away from doing that and spending that time. And I think we would do well to bring that back. So think about relationships that you have in your life, people that are important to you, and think about how much are you going beyond the text message or the Facebook post to update them on what's going on. How much are you actually scheduling time to see people in person? I would so recommend that we do more of that in 2019. So that's the takeaway 2 that I took. And the last one is just taking time for you being so refreshing. So I mentioned that I went to Miami. So you might be thinking, so where were the kids? I left them at home. I left my son and my daughter at home with my husband. I left on Thursday and I returned on Monday morning. And honestly, I was worried about making the trip and leaving them, and my daughter, especially because I had never left her for that period of time before. So I was a bit concerned. But when I was calling them when I was over there, they were absolutely fine. We did FaceTime, I spoke to them and she was doing great. And actually when I came back, she acted like she didn't miss me at all. And so I realized that I was really stressing and almost didn't go because I felt bad for leaving my family. But having that time away really allowed me time to think. I was on a flight for 9 hours and I spent a lot of time thinking and reflecting. And I recognized that I don't really get much thinking time nowadays. I'm either at work as a lawyer where I'm constantly having to have my head down and really concentrating on what I'm doing, or I'm spending time home with the kids, or I'm working on my business, or I'm connecting with family and friends, but there isn't much space for thinking time. And so taking that time out of my usual schedule and going on a plane and then spending time in another country with a completely different group of people just allowed me time to think and process. And I found that so refreshing and so important. And I came back with a renewed sense of, understanding of myself and my goals and what it was I was working towards personally, and then how that then impacts my and my husband's goals as a family. So, if you are hesitating around taking time for yourself and scheduling in that self-care time, or scheduling that time where you can just think or be or chill, then I want to encourage you to do it. It is so necessary. It's going to be great for you, but it's also going to be great for those around you, for your family, for your friends. You're going to show up as a better version of yourself when you do give yourself that time to do what's important to you, and that time to just listen to yourself and to reflect on what is going on and where you want things to go. So that's my third takeaway. So the 3 takeaways from being away in this mastermind is 1, to seek out outside perspectives, especially if you are stuck. And 2, to make in-person connections a priority with your friends, with your family, with colleagues. Just go out of your way to do more in person, and even clients. If you're a business owner and you're working with clients, or if you are in your role in corporate and you are working with clients, instead of sending that email, why not pick up the phone? Instead of sending that email, why not suggest that you meet in person? And then the third thing is to take time for yourself, because you are going to feel refreshed and rejuvenated, and the likelihood is the family is not going to miss you that much. They will miss you, but not as much as you think they're going to miss you. So those are my top 3. And as I said, being part of a mastermind has been an incredible experience. And I would just encourage you to find a community for yourself. So I'm not saying that you must join a mastermind, and it doesn't always have to be a formal mastermind. You can create an informal one amongst your peers. But there are other forms of community. So, we run the Collective, which is a monthly membership community where it gives like-minded women who are going through a similar transition in life in terms of becoming and navigating life as a working parent to come together and share their wins, share their highs, share their lows. And I can honestly say one of the members that came in felt that confident enough to ask for flexible working, because she joined a call with a group of women, and some of those women were working flexibly, some of those women were working on a part-time basis. And having come to the call and seen it with her own eyes and heard it with her own ears, she was able to come away and say, well, if those women can do it, I can totally do it. And that is the power of community. So if you are interested in joining a community where you can be supported and you can have people who are familiar with your struggle to be walking alongside you, then why not come and join us in the Collective? Join the waitlist. It's at www.lightboxcoaching.com/collective-waitlist, and I will then be able to tell you when we are opening the doors again, because we would love to have you join us. Okay, so talking connection, I love to connect with listeners of this show. We do have listeners from all over the world, which I think is incredible. And I would love to know who you are, to learn more about you, to learn a bit about your journey. And so come and head over to the Careers Beyond Motherhood podcast.mn.co, and that's M for Mother, N for November. And this is our community, which is hosted on the Mighty Networks platform just for listeners of this show, so that we can continue the conversation around the topics that we discuss, and so that I can connect with you and learn more about you and your journey. So head over there and you can grab that. I will put the links to that and a few other things that I discuss, such as the book and masterminds, in the show notes. So those will be available at lightboxcoaching.com/episode 54. Okay, that's all from me today. I hope that you guys have an amazing week, and I'll be back with you again very soon. Until then, look after you and look after your babies. This podcast features music from Awesound.